myself, Stephen. Are you here, Stephen Rattan? No, Stephen is staying on the board. And then we also had Bristol Foster. I'm not sure if Bristol is here. For those of you who don't know, Bristol helped to establish the Ecological Reserves program, was the first director, and was a great resource for us to have. But with the COVID issues this year, he's going to have to step away. Then we have Louise Bienhauer, who is our editor and writes the log, which all of you are receiving.
Feinhauer.
Sorry. And Michael Brimstead. I don't know if Mike is here or not.
I'm here, but I don't have camera, only audio.
Okay. So that's our current board. And now we'll get quickly into the annual reporting part. So I think that's you, Mike.
Okay, I'll be as quick as I can. It seems like ancient history 2019, but if Marilyn could put up the strategic goals, I'm going to speak to the 5 strategic goals of the organization. And goal number 1 is support of ecological reserve wardens. And the board and friends are ever grateful for ecological reserve wardens, eco guardians, and we're very happy when they send in their warden reports. Ecological Reserve Wardens and the Warden's Guidebook is on our website and on Parks website. So we really hope to get more Wardens reports, but I'm going to tell you the ones we did get for 2019. First of all, thanks to Mike Jull and Colin Chisholm, who did a report on Aliza Lake Ecological Reserve on LIDAR technology, which was a pretty hefty report. Thanks to Marilyn Lambert for your article on the blob, a bunch of oil that has an interesting story to see how the response didn't occur. Thanks to Bill and Bev Ramney for their excellent report on Fraser River Ecological Reserve and the ever shifting boundaries due to this fluvially active ER. And thanks to Howard Sellers for your activities in Cougar Creek on ER 108. All those reports are on the website, and that's thanks to Gary Fletcher, who dutifully puts these up. And finally, a thanks to Paul Linton, who led the board around Mount Maxwell on a field trip, which was great. He's been there 30 years. At the end of that, still half the ecological reserves in BC have no warden, which is unfortunate. And we are hoping and continue to work with parks to try to rectify that. Okay, so that's the support for the wardens. Promote research in ecological reserves. The ecological reserves were established to protect BC's legacy and several monitoring benchmarks and research sites. FER is unaware of ongoing research and did not find any on Parks Ecological Reserves website. We didn't have enough do-re-mi to sponsor our own. So we're a little slack on the promote research in ecological reserves. I'm so hopeful that this presentation tonight will shine a glimmer of light on that. So moving on to goal 3, support a robust network of ERs. We were moderately busy on that. 2019 saw a lot of time. We managed to interact with the National Energy Board. We got intervener status on the second round of hearings that were the marine portion, which was glossed over in the first set of hearings. So Gary Fletcher and I, with funding from the National Energy Board, acted as interveners to make known the 19 ecological reserves along the tanker route. We recommended in our chief argument at the end a reduction in speeds to mitigate acoustic noise, greenhouse gas, and the probability of marine mammal strikes. We recommended changes in the shipping lanes to improve response times vessels for the Coast Guard when ships are in distress. we were politely told by Transport Canada through the National Energy Board, and I'm quoting from them, that a navigational risk assessment deemed it unacceptable for further examination. And our proposal was to move the shipping lanes further into the center of Juan de Fuca Strait. The National Energy Board did not ask for this risk assessment, so the merit of changing shipping lanes to us remains unexamined. Oil spill baselines and public health concerns were raised. And we think that they just don't have any baselines for recovery, and we had hoped to get something from that. And finally, the outreach programs that have been mounted have been a bit of maybe not misinformation, but not enough information on risk to human health, and the fact that they can only deploy to clean up spills 40% of the time, and et cetera. The public's not well informed on this file. And then the second thing we did, we again continued to promote a process for new ecological reserves. And Jenny and myself did preparatory work for a meeting with BC government officials in the spring of 2020. But that's next year's report. And Mike and Jenny also began work on the Old Growth Strategic Review, and which is still ongoing. And that was to support places like Roberts Creek, Clack Creek, Pink Mountain, and so on. So moving right along here, promote and extend knowledge of ecological reserves. And we did continue with ERs, and Stephen Rattan and Bristol Foster suggested ER issues be shared more widely with bigger organizations such as Victoria Natural History Society and also BC Nature. And that was a very good thing to do. So we began work on a resolution, and happily BC Nature, a whole year and a half's gone by or whatever, and we are working with much bigger partners than we were back in 2019. Local outreach, we attended a bunch of things. Fred and Louise went to Upland's Camas Day celebration, and Louise and Stephen went to Migratory Bird Day, and there were fur display events, and there were also maps and brochures handed out, and we have still thousands of placemats. So all in Mary's basement. The log newsletter and outreach of 2019, we produced 2 log letters, and there's quite a bit in there. I'm not going to go over all the things that were said at that, but it is good. We cut down from 3 to 2 logs just for cost savings. We were made aware by Bristol of historic documentaries, and we began to move to get these digitized. And they were Forests and Vladimir Karina, Triangle Island, and Keeping the Options Open. And Bristol, Maryland, and Stephen began to track down a way to digitize those. We're on to strategic goal number 5. And the board meets monthly, except for July and August. And we've already gone over the directors. And I think that I stepped down as president. I had too much on my plate, and the chairing of the meetings is sort of drifting around between members. I think it's working fairly well. I think you will see when we get the treasurer's report from Michael Brinsmead and the membership report from Louise that FIR is small, but it continues to function 38 years after it began. I think it's a good little organization with a big heart, and we're very hopeful in this 50th anniversary year that we will garner some attention from the powers that be in government. I'm done.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Any questions? And as Jenny mentioned, the best way to send us a question would be to type it in the chat box. All right, Michael, treasurer's report, please.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Marilyn, are you able to put the financial statements up? There they are. So 2019, an important number is the one that's at the bottom of the screen that you're looking at, which showed us with a net income for the year of $1,750. This was a result of total revenue of about 11,200 minus total expenses of about 9,400. This is a relatively typical year for Friends of Ecological Reserves. We never have vast income, nor do we have big losses. Usually we're within $1,000 or $2,000 in the black or the red, and as long as they alternate back and forth, that's absolutely fine. Our biggest particular source of revenue was $6,800, which was money from the National Energy Board for the intervention that we did. And if you'll see down towards the bottom, our biggest single expense were the payouts based on that, and they are exactly the same amount of money. We get awarded exactly the expenses that we incur for that program. Our second biggest source of revenue for the year was in donations, both tax receivable and non-tax receivable, a little over $3,200, and then membership dues came in at $885. One that I think you just might be a little interested in, when Mike was talking about the thousands of placemats that we have, well, we sold $90 worth in 2019, and I think that's probably about 20 placemats. So we'd like them to be sold faster than that. Amongst our expenses, as I said, the cost awards for the National Energy Board intervention was our biggest single expense. The second biggest is the publishing of the log at a little over $1,500. After that is the bookkeeping cost for the year, about $650, and then a variety of other small expenses. And then there should be a second page to these financial statements. And this is just the balance sheet, and this shows our financial position at the end of the year. I think you've gone back to the income statement on the screen. That's the one we want. Yep. So essentially, at the end of the year, we had about $17,500 of assets and only about $115 of accounts payable, and that left us with total equity in the organization of about $17,300. That's pretty static year over year, and looks to me like the organization is being healthy. That's all I have to say, unless somebody has a question.
Diane is just commenting that the log is a wonderful publication. And actually, Louise is up with the membership report. And thank you very much, Michael.
Thanks, Diane. Besides giving you the membership numbers, I'm also the log editor. We have 79 members right now, which includes 4 lifetime members. Of those, I believe Trudy is one of our participants tonight. I send logs out to all of these members. Some of them are in, there are several people in one household. So the logs are sent out to the members and to the current number of wardens that we're allowed to send them out. That's 59 wardens. That's my report.
Thank you very much, Louise. Stephen, you've arrived. Can you tell us about the field trips, please? Here, I think I can unmute. Can I? No. Seems I can't actually unmute you myself.
I've had Stephen contact me saying he couldn't get on. Oh, there he is. Okay, I'll unmute him.
He's here. Yeah, still muted. I see him there. Hi, Stephen.
He
Well, I
has,
didn't. I wasn't on the field trip, so maybe somebody else who was could have something to say.
Can you hear me now?
Oh,
yeah.
there he goes. That's good. Thank you, Stephen.
Well, I wasn't actually on the field trip in 2019. But I have the report in the log, and it was led by Paul Linton. And it seems it was a generally very successful field trip. And Paul raised various issues, which we've subsequently been dealing with. And I don't know if someone like Jenny or someone else who was on the trip had any more to say.
Yeah, I can just mention that we went over to Salt Spring Island and we met with Paul, and he took us all through the reserve, and it's a very extensive Gary Oak stand. For anyone who has not been there before, it's one of the most impressive Gary Oak stands left in the Gulf Islands. It's just amazing. We had hoped to actually help him with some monitoring of some plant species. Unfortunately, it was a very cold late spring, and on April the 1st, those plants had not yet emerged, had not started to bloom. They're probably coming out in bloom early this year because it seems like this is a more spring-like winter. So we weren't able to help Paul with that. However, he took us through the whole area, and the main thing that he was talking about that he really needed help with was a boundary issue, which was a fence that had been installed decades before that was in complete disrepair. And we are still trying to help by bringing this to BC Parks' attention. Because fixing a whole fence around a big ecological reserve like Mount Maxwell it's not something that a warden can do. This is something that BC Parks really needs to do to help with the stewardship of that area. So we're still in touch with Paul and following up on things that he raised at that particular field trip. And there is an article about it in the spring summer log. Version of the log.
Thank you. So ordinarily we would be voting to accept the reports. So what I'll do in this case is just say, is there anybody who has any objections to any of the reports that you've heard? Seeing none, the reports are unanimously accepted. So next we'll move on to nominations to the board. As I mentioned, we have 5 vacancies. And I believe, Marilyn, you were going to nominate someone? Or Jenny, maybe you can go first.
Here I am. Oh, I'm
Okay.
sorry, just technical difficulties. So I am pleased to nominate Diane Moran for the Board of Ecological Reserves. Diane and her husband, Ron Liebman, have recently become wardens for the San Juan River Estuary Ecological Reserve. They own and operate the remote Renfrew Riverside Retreat, which is located right beside the reserve, and they're able to make almost daily visits into the reserve. We are delighted to have Diane join our board as she brings a vast experience with fundraising, community outreach, and event planning. Welcome, Diane, wherever you are. There you are. Thanks very much, Diane.
Thank you. All right, Jenny, and you had said you had a nomination as well?
Yes, I do. I'd like to nominate Kate McCowan. And I'm nominating Kate to be a director on the board of the Friends of Ecological Reserves. She has completed her Bachelor of Science in Forest Biology with a minor in Environmental Studies in the pandemic year, and that's a huge achievement. So she just graduated in June 2020. And she's the co-author already on a paper about nitrogen cycling in temperate coastal rainforests post-logging. That has been recently published in the Journal of Ecology. And the findings from another study she did as Barbara Hawkins' research assistant on yellow cedar cold hardiness, something I'm particularly interested in, has been submitted for publication. She's got experience in fundraising for the Wild Bird Trust in North Vancouver. She's volunteered at the Nature House for the Gorge Waterway Action Society right near where I live, actually. And she's also collared black-tailed deer for the Urban Wildlife Stewardship Society. She's got experience in removing invasive species from both national parks and the Trial Island Ecological Reserve. And tonight she's going to be telling us about her work surveying the biodiversity of several ecological reserves and other protected areas as a field assistant with the BC Parks iNaturalist project, as well as her work as the new iNat coordinator, making improvements and planning for the 2021 field season. And I can tell you she can write well, she has good organizational skills, and she meets her commitments. And even though I've only met her virtually because of the pandemic, her positive, enthusiastic nature really comes through in her written words. And she's a paid up member in good standing with the Friends of Ecological Reserves.
Thank you very much, Jenny.
Is there anyone else that would like to join the board? You can nominate yourself or nominate somebody else. The second call for nominations to the board. And the third call for nominations to the board. So hearing no more, we welcome these wonderful two new members that we have, new directors. On to the new business. We're getting close to 7:30. Let's see what we can get through here. So in my introduction, I don't think I even mentioned that this year marks the 50th anniversary of the Ecological Reserve Act, which was given royal assent on April 12th, 1971. So we want to do something to commemorate that time. I have your name here, Jenny, on the agenda.
Yeah, and we have a number of things that we would like to do as the Friends. I mean, we think working with the BC government to encourage them to actually establish additional ecological reserves would be the most meaningful way that the BC government could commemorate this important legal anniversary. But there's always other things that can be done to raise awareness. And so we wanted to just throw it open to people who are on the call to think about ways to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the Ecological Reserves Act, which was the first such legislation in Canada. And so if you could send us an email after the call tonight, the meeting tonight, if you have some ideas. We will want you to help us implement the ideas, because as you saw from Michael's financial report, it's we don't have huge resources, and both in time and funds we're limited. But there's lots of things that can be done with very little money. And we do have one proposal, I know, from one person who I think was going to put something in the chat for us, and that was Jamie Frith. And I believe he sent Gary a 1.5-minute video to show us to help support his proposal. So maybe if we could just do that, and anybody else who has ideas, if they could send them by email, that would be great. Oh, there he is. Okay.
Do we have time for that now, Rick? Do you want to do it after?
So. Yeah, it's only 2 minutes.
See if I can get it on. You seen that?
No.
Not yet.
Here it comes.
Oh, there it is.
So Jamie is a grade 12 student, and he likes old growth forests and editing videos. So So he's been filming with his drone in different old growths around the island. And he has a permit from BC Parks to shoot at Cathedral Grove, for instance, where he got some of that footage. He wants to assemblage all his footage into a video celebrating the majesty and beauty of our remaining giant trees. He put this video together as a sample of the kind of video he wants to make. And he would like to offer the video to Friends of Ecological Reserve to use to celebrate their 50th anniversary. And maybe we could co-opt him to getting a permit to do some video in some of our other ecological reserves.
Well, that was great. Really appreciate your enthusiasm too. So
Yeah, thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. You're welcome. And I put the link to it in the chat there if you guys want to watch it. The quality wasn't that great over Zoom.
Okay, yeah, that's a really good idea. And then maybe we can have you at a future board meeting to talk further about this.
That would be great. Look forward to
okay,
it.
appreciate that.
Thanks.
So Marilyn, did you want to make a quick call for new wardens?
Thanks, Rick. We just thought that we'd take this opportunity because we have people from all over the province here to put out a call for wardens. As Mike mentioned, there are a lot of reserves that are not having a warden presence at the moment. So, and this year marks the 50th anniversary of the Ecological Reserves program in British Columbia. And as part of the gap analysis project done by Jenny Fike and the board of the Friends, we discovered that there are many reserves that no longer had wardens. We're putting out a call for nature enthusiasts around the province to take a look at the list of ecological reserves lacking a warden. And it's on the Friends of Ecological Reserves website. Gary put it up yesterday and there's lots of information there. It's broken down by region. So, and also you'll find that all you need to know about becoming a warden, the steps you have to go through with parks. And there are several wardens on here tonight. We really appreciate their service. So, you know, if you are able to find a reserve in an area near you and you would like to become a warden, just check out the Ecological Reserves website for the Get Involved button, and there you go. And that's it for me. We're running short on time here.
Thank you, Marilyn. So I see we have 82 people. So, and they're not here for the business meeting. So I'll call it adjourned at 7:34. And Jenny, I think you're going to introduce our speakers for tonight.
Good, okay, great. Well, I'm delighted to welcome our two guest speakers from the University of Victoria tonight. Dr. Brian Starzomski is the director of the School of Environmental Studies at the University of Victoria, and also the Ian McTaggart Cowan Professor of Biodiversity, Conservation, and Ecological Restoration there. He's a member of the Arthropod Specialist Subcommittee of the Committee on the Status of Endangered Wildlife in Canada, CSIWIC, and he conducts